Into the Spider-Verse and Across the Spider-Verse aren't just the best Spider-Man movies in recent history, they're some of the best movies in history, period. And choosing which one is the best is like a parent picking their favorite child. But as we all know, the internet is a wild west filled with keyboard warriors, so I am legally obligated to select the ultimate champion. Considering the film's story, visuals, humor, heroes, and villains, I will determine once and for all which of these two Spider-Verse movies reigns supreme. Let the showdown begin. The first movie, Into the Spider-Verse, primarily focuses on the story of Miles Morales and his struggles around coming to terms with the expectations of those around him. From his parents wanting him to take the traditional route of attending a fancy school, to his uncle urging him to trailblaze as a graffiti artist. Oh, and did I mention he has the pressure of replacing Peter Parker as his universe's Spider-Man, all the while being reminded that he isn't good enough to take on the role? That's heavy stuff for a 14-year-old. The plot is then heightened by the incredible list of supporting characters, such as Peter B. Parker, who acts as the mentor, Gwen, who acts as the friend and potential love interest, and Miles' father, who only wants the best for his son, but struggles to come to terms with the idea of letting him go. What's great, however, is that these supporting characters, both big and small, also go on their own journeys and character arcs. But of course, the perfection of this film comes with the building of Miles' character, until it reaches a full crescendo after the death of his uncle and his ultimate leap of faith into the void. And then there's the sequel, Across the Spider-Verse, which, alongside introducing a band of incredible new spider people into the mix, also continues to drive the storylines and arcs of the characters we have come to know and love. The film once again primarily focuses on the life of Miles Morales, who, with a lot more confidence and bravado now, tries to rekindle the friendships he made with Peter and Gwen by joining the elite multiversal Spider Squad. But this movie really took things to a whole new level in terms of the storyline, as it revealed an endless amount of plot twists, which added even more depth and nuance to the previous film. The core emotional depth of the plot is revealed through Miles' discovery of canon events, and the shocking reveal that he was bit by a spider that wasn't even from his universe. Needless to say, this reveal blew my mind when I left the cinema. However, while the information took its toll on the viewer, it undoubtedly takes an even bigger toll on Miles, who now has to come to terms with the reality that his father is destined to die, as part of the previously mentioned canon event. The reality and direness of this situation adds a level of maturity to the story, helping it transcend the realm of a simple cartoon to an emotionally driven, complex story that feels very real. I personally enjoyed the second movie as a sequel that really builds and improves upon the foundation of the first film, but seeing as though this film is technically a two-parter, it's difficult to assess the genuine quality of the complete story. And until Beyond the Spider-Verse releases next year, by default I have to give the winning point to Into the Spider-Verse, as I can't help but return to the simplicity of its self-contained story that has an incredible beginning, middle, and end. It goes without saying that Phil Lord and Chris Miller blew everyone's minds with Into the Spider-Verse. I'd say it's one of the most visually appealing and innovative films ever made. The film perfectly captures the colorful and vibrant essence of a comic book, with its storyboarded frames and expressive animation, bolstered by visual cues in the form of speech bubbles. And of course, how could we forget the absolute masterpiece that is the leap of faith scene towards the end of the movie? The character designs and symbolism of their respective behavior are also incredibly nuanced yet effective. From Spider-Noir's old-school fisticuffs to Spider-Ham's Looney Tunes antics. I mean, they even made Peter B. Parker's sweatpants look cool. It truly is a movie that defies limits. But with all that said, Across the Spider-Verse pulls a hold my beer move and takes everything to a whole new level. The colors shine even brighter, with more complex dimensions, and every scene surpasses its predecessor's brilliance. Just look at Gwen in her pastel universe, resembling strokes of a watercolor brush, with ever-changing colors that reflect the character's moods and themes. And then there's Spider-Punk's cardboard cutout appearance, once again showcasing the creative vision that pushes every technical boundary imaginable. It makes you wonder how they could even top this when the third movie of the trilogy comes out. Although Into the Spider-Verse pioneered the animation and serves as the foundation for what comes next, that doesn't necessarily give it precedence over everything that follows. Just because Captain America came out first doesn't suddenly mean that it's going to beat out its sequel, The Winter Soldier, every single time. So with that said, Across the Spider-Verse does take the cake in this category, serving as a perfect example of visual excellence and bringing the scorecard to 1 and 1. Into the Spider-Verse balances two primary types of humor: slapstick reactionary humor and character-based humor. Miles is naturally funny as he reacts to the world around him. However, his banter with his parents, Peter, and Gwen is exceptionally well written, making the dialogue feel even more natural and dynamic. And of course, don't even get me started on Spider-Ham, voiced by John Mulaney, who is one of the funniest characters I've seen on screen in a long time.
Literally not get any weirder.
It can get weirder. I just washed my hands, that's why they're wet. No other reason.
Additionally, I have to shout out Nicolas Cage as Spider-Man Noir. He also adds a touch of charm and wit to the dialogue.
Is that all you got? You're gonna fight or you just bumping gum? You hard-boiled turtle slapper.
Needless to say, when it comes to humor, the first movie doesn't disappoint. The humor in Across the Spider-Verse, on the other hand, shines even brighter in some of the most unsuspecting characters. The film's main villain, the Spot, delivers surprisingly comedic moments through his goofy and unassuming nature, further enhanced by his interactions with Miles. However, what truly takes the humor of this movie to a whole new level is the multiverse, which introduces a wide array of characters from various universes. Spider-Man India and Ben Reilly bring fresh comedic elements to the film, perfectly balancing each other's personalities. Spider-Man India embodies a more happy-go-lucky Spider-Man, while Ben Reilly embodies the dark and angsty archetype of the 90s, portrayed effortlessly by Andy Samberg. While this was a really tough one, I think the humor in the second movie is better utilized and memorable, which leads me to give another point to Across the Spider-Verse, bringing the scorecard to 1 and 2. Fans of my channel will know that I am a massive fan of the recent adaptations of Miles Morales. I'm sold on any flawed protagonist who just tries to do the right thing. But you know who really takes the cake in Into the Spider-Verse? Peter B. Parker. Sure, he acts like a Spider-Man, but on the inside, he's a broken man that challenges the very foundation of what it means to be Spider-Man. Despite being alone, tired, and complacent, he still wears the mask and tries to do the right thing. In the film, we see him go from pushing Miles away to opening himself up to feel again, which then empowers Miles to take the leap of faith to become Spider-Man. This flips the script of the film upside down, allowing Miles to be the one that swings in and saves Peter, as opposed to the other way around. This finally gives Peter the motivation he needs to go back home to his dimension and fight for MJ. But alongside Peter, Gwen and the other Spider-Man are also fantastic heroes that push the envelope on what it means to be the good guy and challenge the archetype of what it truly means to be Spider-Man. In fact, studios should take note. You don't need to make a character unlikable to be interesting. That said, Across the Spider-Verse more than triples the number of heroes that we saw in the previous film, but that doesn't necessarily mean it triples the value. While we do see a wide array of spider people from various eras and universes, the film primarily focuses on Miles and Gwen. Throughout the film, both are forced to confront their values and question the morality of those they follow. This comes to a head towards the end of the film, when Miguel O'Hara imprisons Miles in an attempt to prevent him from saving his father. Miles then escapes the clutches of the Spider Society, and Gwen is forced to decide whether she helps Miguel or Miles. By the end of the movie, we know which decisions she makes, as we see her standing on the roof with a ragtag team of spider people, ready to put it all on the line for her friend Miles. Now, while I commend the bold decision to question the archetype of what it means to be a hero, I prefer the straightforwardness of the heroes in Into the Spider-Verse. While the future third film has potential to elevate Across the Spider-Verse even more, this point goes to Into the Spider-Verse, bringing the score to 2 and 2. Into the Spider-Verse once again keeps things simple by having a more pronounced evil villain, Kingpin, who after the death of his wife and child is hell-bent on trying to find a universe where he can once again be with his family. However, in the pursuit of this endeavor, he willingly kills a defenseless Spider-Man with a single crushing blow, leaving the viewer in fear of what he's capable of doing. Alongside that, we also have Miles' uncle, the Prowler, who helps Kingpin achieve his goals through brute force as his subordinate. That is, of course, until he finds out Miles is Spider-Man, which results in him being shot in the back by Kingpin, once again making the viewer fear what he is capable of doing. Both are great villains with very clear motivations for doing what they do, without coming across as one-dimensional. Across the Spider-Verse has much more complicated villains. The primary one is Spot, who subverts the viewer's expectations and takes us on a very unusual journey. Spot's agenda is to get revenge on Miles for what was done to him during the destruction of the Collider, and to gain his respect as his evil adversary. This accumulates towards the end of the movie, when Spot fuses with the Collider on Earth 50101 to become incredibly powerful and finally take everything away from Miles that he loves, which we come to realize would be his father's life. Huge stakes for an awesome villain. Then surprisingly, there's Miguel O'Hara era as Spider-Man 2099. He's a Spider-Man who is primarily focused on keeping the order of the multiverse by allowing a predetermined list of events to take place, one of which is the death of Miles' father. He's not necessarily a conventional villain, but he certainly opposes everything Miles believes in. Now, once again, it's hard for me to judge the true quality of the second film's villains, as it's part one of a two-part story. We still have yet to see the impact from Spot's ascension into full-blown villainy, and we are also teased with the appearance of Miles from another dimension as the Prowler in the final scene. So although I absolutely love every villain from both films, I have to give this point to Into the Spider-Verse for its completed arc in both Kingpin and Prowler, and that brings the score to 3 and 2. I have a huge appreciation for the second film, and in a lot of ways prefer it, but I can't reasonably give it the full points it deserves without first seeing the final film in Miles' chapter, Beyond the Spider-Verse. Let me know in the comment section below which Spider-Verse movie was your favorite and why. Also, make sure to subscribe to the channel so that you are up to date on all comic book movies and TV shows. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.